We didn't have a choice. None of us wanted to go back to jobs. So in less than 2 months, Howl was up and running.
The world's changing. What's your advice to build a successful agency?
You don't have to call it a creative agency. Try and see if you can drop the word creative.
The brand's metrics prioritize reach and shareability over brand building. But then when things don't work out, they are just trying to be like, you must be the problem.
The impatience has been because of the target set by the senior management. So अगर 1-2 महीने में कुछ हुआ नहीं, we're like, oh my God, 2 months has gone. Let 5 months go, let a year go. You might be wrong in the entire year. So what? At least you've learned what not to do for year 2 and year 3, right? Brand and agency partnerships are looser than what they used to be. The solution for this is massive levels of empathy on both sides.
Hey there, welcome to Marketing Mavericks with Indiefolio. Today we have Nabeel Merchant with us, who owns Howl along with his co-founder Tufail. We talk about Nabeel and his journey, how he ended up starting Howl with his twin brother, talk about the challenges agency founders face in the start, and his perspective on what's happening with advertising and marketing with the advent of AI, with the explosion of content required, and a lot more. Thanks a lot for your time and welcome to the podcast, Nabeel.
Thanks, Kawan. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for, giving me your time. I wanted to first ask you, why don't you give us a background around why did you start Howl in the first place? When was it? And who did you do it with, just for our audience?
This has to go a lot with how I started my career and how my twin brother and co-founder, started our careers essentially, right? We picked up jobs in the digital space back in 2010. So we started off with smaller companies that may not even exist today. We built our, digital tech journey all the way till 2014. We were primarily business heads or either salespeople, deploying tech solutions, digital solutions for different brands in India and in Southeast Asia. We both came together at a very young age. I mean, pretty much, when you guys, started evolving into Indiefolio, right? I'm talking about 2014, November, December, and we said, why don't we create a hyper-local consumer tech startup of our own, right? Or rather, let's start a consumer tech company. And let's see where this typically goes. We saw an opportunity in the home maintenance services, right? And not just us, there were a whole bunch of companies back then. I'm talking about at least, 18 to 20, maybe more also. So we started Fixie, which was our first company. We started it because we had a background in marketing. We had a background in actually working with smaller companies, so managing P&Ls, knowing how to build tech, knowing how to scale tech, all of these things. Obviously, with much little experience. We did raise our first funds from the same incubator that had funded Oyo Rooms, Venture Nursery. That was a big win for us. But during the entire journey, we realized that, this is a very tough space to build in, right? And we tried everything, keeping the model afloat by doing B2B partnerships with Amazon Furniture, with Urban Ladder, with Pepperfry back then, with Godrej. We did a joint venture with Kohinoor Technical Institute to ensure that we had trained technicians and we got access to nodal offices, right? So we did everything, right, to ensure that we could scale the model back in 2016. After doing all that, Hajamad Giri and Magajmari were like, bhai, this is a tough model to build, right? You're grappling between, wanting to scale up tech and put in a lot more money to acquire customers, which obviously would come in with a lot more rounds of funding.
Right.
But there was no end to it, right? Even if we did raise, then we would have got possibly $1 million or, possibly a couple of $1 million or so on and so forth. It just kept like, as though it was like a sinking black hole, right? Everything that's going into this, it's just not going to ever come out. So we couldn't see it. We were scared, obviously, right? We didn't have the ability, knowledge, foresight that some companies actually do take 10 to 12 years to actually become EBITDA positive at a per customer level. 2016, November, December, we said that let's not do this. After posing as fake architects and doing people's homes and offices and everything, we were like, let's go back to what we're really good at. Let's build a services company where we can see कि ये invoice है, ये मेरा bill है, ये मेरे को cash मिलता है. I have a very simple P&L, right? We have people on our payroll. We consult. We've learned a lot. We use that same level of knowledge to be able to help startups, brands, right, across their growth journey, right? So 0 to 1, 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to 1000, whichever phase they're in, right? To scale their business using key digital functions that exist, back in 2017, 18. Let me put it this way, Kamal. We didn't have a choice, right? None of us wanted to go back to jobs. We wanted to do something together really quickly. So in less than 2 months, Howl was up and running, right? We in fact got our first client even before we had our name. And we had a very interesting third partner and co-founder. His name is Nilesh Jain. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2022. It's a huge black swan moment, for us. But the impetus and the start that he gave us in the first 4 to 5 years was enough for us to be able to build where we are. So that's the journey, right? Why did we start Howl? We didn't start Howl because we essentially love, wanting to build an agency, right? I think we started Howl because it became the next most logical thing, and we had to pay back people. We just wanted to make money immediately and try to scale up another second company without actually wallowing too hard on the failure of the first company. So that's how Howl came into existence.
I really relate to the story because, we went through a similar journey to kind of create a rocket ship, as, VCs call it, for various challenges. What I want to ask you, whenever people want to start a company, the first thing everybody asks is, what's your differentiator? In the first year of what was your differentiator? So maybe people who want to start up their creative shops today understand what a differentiation can be for a service company.
Differentiation in the services space, what we call it the moat, right? There's not much. Let's be very honest. Moats in the agency space can come from multiple places, right? Either you have a really successful VP of a BFSI space who really understands, has gone through the trials and tribulations of actually building out, great, marketing strategies and seen through, multiple P&Ls of, various banks and, insurance companies. He or she could actually come out and say, hey, you know what? I'm in my early 40s or mid 40s. I've got lots of recognition. I'm going to focus on building a consulting service company in the marketing space, which is only going to work with BFSI companies. So over here, what is his or her moat? Experience, that becomes a differentiator. And the fact that he or she is only going to be looking at the BFSI space, that becomes a differentiator. Right? Having said that, do other companies also will have that? Yes, they will. But this will be stronger. The reason to buy into this particular proposition will be higher. When we started, again, differentiation chore, I was like, boss, I'll put my hands and get anything at that particular point of time, right? But because of our experience, the first few clients, I mean, and the way 2017, 18, and 19 were shaping up, right? We were trying to focus on e-commerce as a key solution suite, right? What we were telling clients and mainly FMCG brands, and we also got success in that. I feel when we started off, we took that route of letting people know that we are not traditional creative agency. That's not how we are approaching solving your marketing needs, but we are solving your marketing needs by really identifying what's wrong in your digital commerce journey. You don't have to call it a creative agency. You don't have to call it you can call it whatever you want. That is something that also people need to keep in mind, right? Try and see if you can drop the word creative, because now creative is going to be part of pretty much everything that you do. Try to say that, hey, you're a creative solutions company or whatever the case might be. But that's how I would advise people wanting to, start up, so to speak, in the services space. Right?
Yeah. When I entered the industry pretty young in my school. But when I did, people told me the golden age of advertising is already over. That is what the opinion was.
वो तो आज भी बोल रहे हैं.
आज भी बोल रहे हैं. Why do people say this? Why do you think brands say this? And what's your take on that?
Every time you have a technology that disrupts the status quo, right? You'll have people of the yesteryears, so to speak, saying abhi gaya kaam se. Right? In 2010, 11, and 12, when online and digital came in with such brute force, that's when they started saying that, the golden age of advertising is over. Then suddenly you had another 8, 9 years from now, typically in the last 3, 4 years, I would say, right? The concept of a creator economy and the concept of a content first approach for literally almost everything, right, has put marketers in a tizzy as to what is really going to work and how to navigate this frenzy of more content, of different types of content across different formats, right? And then you have the advent of AI, which is obviously going to come and take over and change a lot of dynamics in the space over the next 4 to 5 years. Again, you're going to be hearing that statement, the golden years of advertising is over. I feel that advertising has a way of, I think marketing and advertising has a fair way of evolving, no matter what changes come into the ecosystem. It's the ability of marketers to constantly upgrade, update, self-correct, get into the technical know-how of what's happening and where the future is going, the future is moving towards. It's our responsibility to understand all of these things and make sense of it. To summarize, right, I don't think the age is particularly going to get over. The age is evolving. So I don't think so this will ever end.
But I'll tell you the argument, at least I've heard from the client side very often. More than 15 years ago, agencies used to sit at the table and decide the overall brand strategy, or advertising strategy, marketing strategy, truly partner and understand what I want to do. Now they don't do it anymore. When you ask agency founders, they're like, yeah, we used to do that because first they used to make 6 things a year. Now they make 6 things every day. They are not giving us time to take us through what the brand is, what the brief is. It's a lot of haphazard and a lot of pressure to deliver extremely fast. And that is why the brand's metrics prioritize reach and shareability over, let's say, brand building. But then when things don't work out, a lot of times they are just trying to be like, you must be the problem. So that's why there is this push and pull constantly about why this is happening, why this is not happening. Do you agree? What's your take here?
I would say brand and agency partnerships are looser than what they used to be. That's point number one. And point number two is the ability to comprehend what the brand or the product actually requires in today's day and age, and to be able to deliver on that. Right. So briefing to comprehension to execution. Third is which is impatience and frustration from both ends. They're all interconnected, but let's try and address each of these things, right? Client and agency partnerships are slightly more looser today in today's day and age. Right? I think we need to get used to that. In fact, if I were the brand, I would say, Baba, we should have a mandate that after 3 years, we need to go to someone else. In the second month, right? It's very outcome based, it's very goal based, it's very brief based, product based, category based, all of those things, right? Which means that you figure out your commercials for the entire year, which is from a P&L perspective. Right. If I'm hitting a revenue of around 50, 60 CR, backward calculate, figure out how much a digital budget will look like, right? Spread it across a year, see how much has to go into services, see how much has to go into production, see how much has to go into media, set the entire thing up, put a plan of action, right? And bill every month if required, right? So this is exactly what partnerships are going to look like, right? So we have to find a smarter way of being able to strengthen it by being extremely honest, transparent, and clear of what we are looking to achieve. But to feel that it's going to be a long-standing relationship, I think we need to stop, dreaming about those things. The longevity is maximum 1 year to 3 years, right? In some cases, I mean, again, we work with HRX for more than 6.5, 7 years, right? We're working with Chinnan in year number 4. We work with DBS Bank for 3 years, right? And in fact, the marketing head and chief marketing officer came to us and they said, no, we cannot work with you. We have to change. I was like, yeah, by all means. And they're all good friends at the end of the day, right? Point number 2 is brief to comprehension to ability to execute. That's a bloody mess right now. It's a mess because of various reasons. You have a very young workforce in the age group of around 21 to 27, 28. The new workforce is very, I will take things on face value. I'm going to ask you questions. If I don't have that understanding, I'm not going to go back and really, spend too much of time. I need everything to be done in a certain way, right? They expect work to be as methodical as possible. And if it's not, right, the ability to further push and probe and actually really understand is not a responsibility that they want to take. So by no means I'm saying that that's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm saying that it's a thing. People on the brand side are, people who evolved into creative agencies or into digital setups and so on and so forth. And they're usually people who are in their late 20s, early 30s, who've now come to that particular side. Then you have the other group of people who are smart MBAs, right? Who are, very smart individuals who've done really well in life, done some great MBAs from, your top colleges, right? And have obviously gone on the brand side, right? Who have not worked in an agency before, who may not understand the creative process. Now, add the main, concoction of the generational difference that we're going through, and add a sprinkle of where the economy is heading. Now you have a recipe of disaster, right? So the solution for this is empathy on both sides. Massive levels of empathy on both sides. Point number 2 is pause, reflect. The world's not going to end in if that bloody content piece is not gone out. It's not going to make a difference. Or if a particular ad set, did not execute the right kind of ROAS, it's not the end of the world. It's better to be more grounded in the short term and find ways to upskill in the long term rather than trying to always be on a treadmill, trying to hit levels of perfection that may not come if something is not thoroughly understood. The impatience has been because of the targets set by the senior management on creative perfection, so to speak, or task perfection or digital perfection, right? तो अगर एक दो महीने में कुछ हुआ नहीं, we're like, oh my God, 2 months has gone. Let 5 months go, let a year go. You might be wrong in the entire year, right? So what? At least you've learned what not to do for year 2 and year 3, right?
Right.
So I think we are suffering from a very competitive environment, and I hope that the responsible and mature people become a little more empathetic and start, pushing empathy to their teams, right? On both sides. When that starts happening, right? And to file, right? My co-founder, he came up with this GLR theory, right? At a workplace, the three most important things: gratitude, love, and respect. I think empathy, human emotions, those things need to start coming to the forefront. And then you will start seeing, people thriving better.
I think you articulated that question really, really well, and you went really deep. Thank you so much for, going, deep into this topic. I discussing something which has been giving a lot of anxiety and also excitement to me personally, which is AI. Some smart CMOs who I work with have already started giving me mood boards on ChatGPT, giving me hook examples of what they want within the brief itself. And this is not the brand manager, it's the CMO, so I'm like, wow, okay, this is fascinating. But I also wonder, will creative become just a component of a marketeer's skill set? What's your take there on generally the outsourcing of creative and advertising as a concept?
Just stay with me because it'll take 3 to 4 minutes for me to explain this to you. You had TVCs back in 1995, 97, 98. You would get to see that and use that, right? Suddenly, the advent of digital, and you started seeing video ads. And then you had the advent of short format content, which has literally taken over the world. But if you see, throughout the years and throughout this entire graph, right, people have evolved to figure out how to use it and how to make sense out of it. Right. The industry, in fact, has only grown. The independent companies that I know have also stayed where, stood their ground and they've been where it is. The traditional companies have also been where they are. Big changes that you definitely will see, and I can guarantee that this change is going to happen, and it has been spoken about. So the managerial level, the managerial set of people, the client servicing people will cease to exist. Executives who have a lot of context and actually understand the brief, the emotion, the brand at large will start becoming more prominent. The designers who will have to suddenly learn the language of how to put their, thoughts not into actions, but now into words, right? And they'll have to pick up on these platforms very easily. But you know what designers will start doing? They will start prompting the AI to help them prompt to get better prompts. So there is an evolution that is going to happen. It has nothing to do with outsourcing is going to be lesser. Actual production where camera and so those production agencies where you had equipment, sets, all of those things, right? Those are going to be compromised in a big way. Okay, for example, in Venice, when Venice can be prompted on a Google VO3, and I can get literally every street and every corner of Venice the way I want to.
Correct.
So the need to go to Venice to capture that very specific image will not be there. छोड़ ना वो image नहीं मिला 98% at least मेरा clear Venice का picture तो मिल ही गया ना मेरे को.
Correct.
That is what you're going to be able to get. That's the main game we're talking about, right?
I have been always told whenever I used to ask advice, how to develop skill sets, how do you look for team members, blah, blah. I used to get the T philosophy, right? Which is specialize in one while you have context of all. And now I think it's becoming like a V, right? Or an inverted V. You can do everything you want. You can run an ad. You can make a film. You can do this, that, as long as you know how to prompt it. Like literally last weekend I don't know how to code, but I literally made a proper app which connects my Bluetooth to Bluetooths of 4 speakers. Because I just had an idea with my friends chilling, and I used Replit, and it actually made it synced it, and it kind of made 10. And I was like, it took me 55 minutes and some 4 or 5 prompts to do that. And I was like, This is like crazy where, I can do anything I can think of. How do you differentiate with expertise? Because pehle it was like, because I'm a marketplace for creative people and a network for creative people, we should always be like, show depth in your work. If an agency wants to hire you or if a brand wants to hire you, they'll want a brand expert, an illustration expert, a TV expert, etc., etc. But I think now that expertise is blurring completely. What do you think about that generally as a concept?
Having the fundamentals has never been more important, is what I would say. So you literally need to get your hands dirty and do as many things as possible at a very quick period of time to be able to get to a level of like a Kavan who can actually, prompt and get his Bluetooth sorted out in no time. Right? Because he has a lot of context. He has so much of context. He's got years and years and years and years of context, right? And people who have years and years of context, right? And third, be extremely tech savvy. So fundamentals, second, and third, man, get your hands dirty on everything tech and AI as of right now. You don't understand it, still just get into it, right? Pay for a course. You may not be able to attend all the lectures, which I'm actually going through right now. I can't. Paid some ridiculous amount of money. I'm like, chal yaar, matlab abhi, 7 to 10 on a Saturday and a Sunday. I was like, nay, I'll do it. But, I'm struggling to just, and it is a very nice course, right? I'm still struggling to complete it, but I'm like, no, I'll still do it. I'll put my money where my mouth is and actually start at least learning the fundamental pieces, right, of Python and everything, right? Not a tech person, but I want to understand how.
Correct.
Always did, but I want to get into more depths of it, right? So I think those three things are very important. Have a lot more experiences, right? Because you're going to be able to get a lot of world experience to be able to help with the context while you're building things, right? Whether it be on the agency side, marketing side, product side, whatever the case might be. So I don't think there's any right formula to this, but I think this should be good enough.
100%. Yeah, I think understand the first principles, validate them by trying new stuff for a long time. It's a good, way to, I believe, become an expert in anything, in any time of your life. So I think very well said there, Nabeel. This brings us to the last question, which is more like a parting thought, especially for a young, agency aspirant who wants to build their own agency today, where the world's changing, expectations are dynamic. What's your advice to them to build a successful agency?
Tough one again. I have so many thoughts for this. We started on this conversation, right? Either you go channel specific, you go sector specific, you go expertise specific, and you just focus on just one or two things, and that's about it, right? No matter how hard it is, just stay true to a very specific set of industries that you want to solve for, sectors you want to solve for, and expertise that you want to bring in, right? And just literally go hard on that. And that itself only is a world of things to actually solve for. That's how, if you ask Nabeel Merchant if he had to start Howl in 2025, that's how I would start it. Right? Super. In 2017, it was a very different era only altogether.
Right.
Things have changed dramatically right now. So
superb. No, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you on the pod. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah.
Superb.
Started really working my brain on a Sunday, so that's amazing.
Superb. I'm glad. And thank you once again for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
For everybody who's tuned in so far, thank you to you as well. If you'd like to hear another fantastic agency founder soon, please like, share, and subscribe. A new episode will come out very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kavan. See you.